It took me the better part of a decade to finally be able to play this piece the way that I felt it. I had always been enamored with it ever since I learned it, but something just didn't gel when I was playing it, when I was practicing it. There were moments where it sounded kind of the way that I felt it, the way that I heard it, but overall, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. The tempo didn't work throughout the entire piece. The dynamics were a bit off. Just the vibe was off, basically. And I realized the problem was that I was too bogged down and too enamored with something a bit too logical, too mathematical, the structure of the piece, which is indeed very, very cool. I mean, you've got this melodramatic melody. I thought that was very cool. I liked how the melody was punctuated by these little chords. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. You see them there? Do 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 do. I liked how the motor in the left hand, this theme of the prelude, do 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 do. I liked it. I liked how it continued in the second half of the piece when it went really fast. So the piece was very interesting to me at like a logical level, but I was too bogged down into that, and I essentially forgot what I really responded to aesthetically, which to me was the melody. This just beautiful, again, I have to use the word melodramatic, this beautiful melodramatic melody. Now, I know that this is a personal thing, a personal journey. Maybe for you, I don't know, there's no problem playing this piece. You play it the way that you like it, the way that it sounds in your head. So with that in mind, let me explain for me why focusing on the melody really made everything else fall into place. And then a couple of places where the technique was very important for me. So with the melody, the first thing that really falls into place was the pulse and the tempo. I don't know why, but playing this melody just is the easiest thing in the world. I mean, playing it and making it sound the way that I feel it, to give me goosebumps. I don't know, it's just not hard, especially hear this. And this resolution. You'll notice that not only did I play the melody, I also played those little chords, those punctuation marks. Those are the things that really give the pulse. So if this is actually, let me just jump the gun a little bit. The first thing that I do when I practice this piece, or if I'm trying to play it from the beginning, is I try to just hear that melody, this do 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 boo do 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 do. That gives me the pulse, and now I'm locked in to this pulse, and then I can start. I should point out, the melody gives me the tempo, but the pulse is really given by these little chords, these punctuation marks. This idea of a melodramatic melody that floats over a constant pulse, this happens in Bach. I mean, it's all over the place. It's in his keyboard concertos and all the slow movements. It's in the slow movement of the Italian concerto. It's in the E-flat prelude that we talked about a couple of episodes ago. It's just everywhere. And the idea is always kind of the same. You do have a steady pulse that really grounds everything, and over that floats this like freewheeling melody. So when I think of the melody, do 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 do, it gives an overall tempo to the piece, and then I make sure that I have a steady pulse, these steady punctuations, these little chords. So this is the main thing that I practice. If ever I kind of feel like I've lost the connection with this piece, I just go back to that and play just basically the right hand to focus on the melody to give the tempo, and play it together with these little punctuation chords to feel the pulse. After that, the left hand also kind of falls falls into place. The left hand was always kind of a source of problems for me in this piece because I felt like that's what was giving the pulse. That was the motor of the piece. Generally, that is the case. So for example, in the E-flat minor prelude, that is the case there. You have the left hand, which gives the pulse. It's 3 beats per measure, and it's very, very steady. And over that floats this freewheeling melody. But here, it's actually, as we saw, it's the right hand, those little chords, that give the pulse over which the melody floats. And the left hand, it's kind of guided by the melody in the right hand. It's very interesting. So instead of playing the left hand very robotically to give the pulse, bum 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 bum, I find that the left hand, for me, it generally follows the right hand. So as the melody gets faster, gets slower, so on and so forth, the left hand follows it as well. The most important thing, naturally, is for the beginning of every one of these shapes, this do 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 do, is to fall together with the pulse. Bum 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 bum. And I think the reason why the left hand isn't the pulse, it's not the motor that's very steady, is because it's pretty busy. I mean, there's actually 8 16th notes to every beat of the pulse. So I think it'd be kind of, I don't know, you'd feel kind of topsy-turvy if you had very straight 16th notes here, and you would try to play a melody that a freewheeling melody that doesn't fall into place with these 16th notes. I'm not even going to attempt to play it. So because the melody also has the same 16th notes mostly as the left hand, I think the left hand, again, is not really the motor. It's not the steady pulse of the piece. This idea that the left hand is guided by the right hand is true in the second half of the piece as well, the really fast one. The left hand continues with the same motion, the same theme of the prelude. But again, it's guided by the right hand. The right hand is still a little freewheeling. It's a little less melodic because it's very constant. But there's still a rhythmic shape to it. And these tugs and these pulls on the rhythm, on the pulse in the right hand, I follow them in the left hand as well. So in this way, just by focusing on the melody, everything falls into place. The tempo, the pulse, the left hand, even the dynamics of the piece fall into place as long as I just keep focusing on that melody and really try to feel it and love it, which is very easy to do. I don't know why. I guess I'm a sucker for melody. So that's it for how I finally was able to play the piece the way that I kind of felt it, the way that I heard it in my head. As far as technique goes, there's 4 things I want to talk about. 2 are just general, so we'll blaze through them, and then 2 a little more important for this piece. The 2 pieces of general technique that apply to pretty much all the pieces. So first of all, playing a melody while the right hand also plays these chords is not easy. You need to be able to play any chord and make the top note ring out. We've talked about this in the C minor Chopin Prelude, how to play a chord and emphasize one of the notes. So go back to that one. It's very, very important. It's pretty hard to play this piece without being able to do that. The other just general practice technique, this applies to, for example, the C minor Prelude as well. Any prelude where you have one hand shape that repeats a little bit, and then you move to a different hand shape. So in the left hand, that was one hand shape, and then I got a second hand shape, and then another one. I mentioned the C minor prelude, one hand shape, second, third hand shape, fourth. Whenever you have a piece like this, it really helps to practice just one transition from one hand shape to the other. So for example, once I've got this part down, and I've got this part down, practice the transition. This is even more important in, for example, here. That's it, just one transition. And then a second transition. Again. Next transition. Next transition. And so on. Very, very important. The transitions between the hand shapes, if you can do those transitions very smoothly, everything gels together a lot better. So those are general practice techniques that apply to a bunch of pieces. In this particular piece, there are two things that gave me pause, that were a little more difficult. One of them is in the right hand. You have to play a melody, at least with the fingering that I use, but I think for most people it'll be the same fingering. We have a melody that starts on the pinky, on an E. It's actually always on an E. And then the next notes, you have a F sharp, back to the E, D sharp, and then back to the E. I mean, you're in E minor, and then you're sketching out for the dominant chord, the B7. That's what this D sharp, this F sharp is about. And the fingering here is pretty difficult for me because I want to play legato. So after this pinky on the E, I want to move to the F sharp with my fourth finger. I have to liberate the pinky so that I make way for the third finger to play back on the E, and then go down to the D sharp and then back to the E. So not only is it a little bit awkward to go from the 5 on a white key to 4 on a black key, and then liberate quickly to go back with the 3 on the white key. Any hand position where my fourth finger is above the third finger is a little awkward for me. I avoided it like the plague, and I really shouldn't have, because you just can't avoid these things. Now, there is a reason for it, and it's because the fourth finger is, I forget anatomically exactly how tied it is to the third and the fourth fingers. I think literally they share muscles. So it's why the fourth finger is always the weakest. It's why nobody is able to raise their fourth finger as high as other fingers. Like for me, this is as high as I can raise my fourth finger. I'm at an extreme case. I do this exercise with my students, and they usually can raise it up to like here. But it doesn't compare to how easily I can raise the third finger or the fifth finger. The fourth finger, though, unless I try to raise it with the third or with the fifth, it barely raises by itself. So this is the reason why I always tried to make the fourth finger, keep it lower than the third finger. But you can't do that here. You need to go like this. This happens in 3 places. Right at the beginning. Whoops. It happens here when we're on the A major chord. Excuse me. And then at the ending. So it's 3 instances where I just really need to very slowly practice this motion. So at the beginning. On the A major. I noticed, especially on this one, that I was not making way for the third finger because of this awkward movement from the fifth to the fourth finger. I kind of still held down this key with the fifth finger, and then when I moved back down with the third finger, I wasn't really sounding out that E. So very important for me to liberate, make sure that I took my fifth finger off of the key so that I have room for the third. And then in the last example here, bum 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 bum. So that's one technique that I really focused on, this fingering problem. The other one is much more general and much more important. The left hand, the theme of the prelude, requires you to have, it requires two things. So first of all, you need to have great control over the 1 and the 2. You repeat these notes so often, it's almost like a trill. Especially when you get fast. Do 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 do. A trill in the real sense of the word, not like a loosey-goosey, just playing as fast as you can. No, a very very rhythmic. So it really helps to practice, to make sure to practice when you're doing your scales and your arpeggios, your chords, etc. To try 1 and 2 in every hand shape. And just make sure that you can play this very smoothly, no tension. And the other thing is, after this, to continue this, this theme, you do two things. Either you move down with the 3rd finger back to the 5th. Oof. Or you move down by catching your thumb under the 4th finger and then back to the 5th. Both of these things are important to practice. This going with your thumb under the 2nd finger gets very tiring, especially in this section. You see, I need a very steady 1, 2, and then when I finish with the quasi-trill, a very smooth motion back to the 5th finger when I'm doing this thumb switch. There's really no secret to this, you just gotta drill it a lot. I definitely do not play it up to speed, at least up to my liking. But even the simple variant where you're exiting this 1, 2 quasi-trill with the 3rd finger, I don't know why, but for me too, sometimes I can barely execute with the 3rd finger after I've executed with the 2nd. You noticed it early on that I was doing this, and then the 3rd finger wasn't even, I pushed it down, but the key wasn't heard. So I'm very, very careful while doing this. Right there. I pushed down on the C, but it didn't sound. So I still have a long way to go to make sure that I have proper independent control of the 3rd finger. Oof. Let me do this a couple of times. Okay, that feels a lot better. It really should feel like kneading dough. Let's go from here. This isn't just for this hand shape. It happens in a lot of other hand shapes too, so that's why it's good to practice this, for example, here. In all the keys. So this is a very important drill, to drill the quasi-trill with 1 and 2, and then exiting that quasi-trill either with the 3rd finger or with the thumb switch. So that's it for the technique, the things that I really need to drill to make the technique work for this piece. But again, it's all almost secondary. The most important thing and the way that I start is just with the melody. Just dig into that and the piece will fall into place. All right, let's play this.